Hey guys, Mrs. Miller here. We are now officially, 5 days into the summer, and I'm certainly hoping that your summer break has been as relaxing and wonderful as mine has been so far. But remember, summer is not all about letting that brain sit. You've got to keep reading, and you've got to keep using that brain, because remember, it's like a skill. If you don't use it, you lose it, much like an athletic ability or learning a language. Okay, so that's why this summer I'm coming to you with a series of book talks via video from my house. Yes, this is it. Okay, and I've picked out a handful of books that I think you guys will love to read. They're great summer reads, and I'm excited to tell you about them. So the first book in our series is called The Book Thief, and it's by Markus Zusak, who is an Australian author. And this is not only one of my favorite books of all time, and that's why I'm bringing it to you as a book talk, but also one of your classmates, Danny Shovelin, had been bugging me for like a month to do a book talk on this book, so I decided to make this the first of the summer series. So thank you, Danny. You're getting your way here, okay? Let me tell you a little bit about this book. It is historical fiction, which means that it's, of course, based in a real time period in history, but the people in the book are fictional. It is the story of a young girl, the book thief. Her name is Liesl Memminger, and Liesl is born into a very unfortunate location and time in our world's history. Liesl is 9 years old when we first meet her, and it is in January of 1939, and she lives in Germany. And during that time in our world's history, of course, the Nazi Party was rising into power, and the world was on the edge of World War II. And Liesl has not had an easy life, and when we meet her, things are not going well for her. She's on a train when we first meet her, in the dead of winter with her mother and her young brother. Her father, whom she never knew, is long gone because he was accused of being a communist. And so he had to go into hiding, and her mother can no longer afford to raise her brother and she, so her mother is taking them to Munich so that they can be put into the care of a foster family. And on that fateful train ride, Liesl's brother, Werner, dies right there on the train. And Liesl's mother and Liesl are forced to leave the train at a stop outside of Munich and bury their brother and son. And it's during this funeral that two things happen first to Liesl. One is that the first time she's met death. And this is going to be important to our story, and I'll tell you in a moment why. And secondly, during the funeral, she sees one of the two gravediggers drop a book out of his pocket. And after the funeral, and after she and the mother and the gravedigger start to walk away, Liesl steals the book from the ground, becoming the book thief for the first time. And it's called the Gravedigger's Handbook, and she keeps it with her, despite the fact that Liesl, at 9 years old, can't read. And so Liesl and her mother go to Munich, and Liesl's mother gives her up for adoption to a foster family. And Liesl, who of course is in shock, is taken to a house in a city called Mokow, and she is placed with the Huberbin family. Hans and Rosa are her foster parents, and Hans is whom everybody would want as their foster father. He is kind, he is gentle, he's sweet, he's funny, he's loving towards Liesl from the very first moment. Rosa, however, who does love Liesl, we find out, but shows it in a very unconventional way. Rosa is short, and she's fiery, and she doesn't take anything from anybody. She curses in German quite often, and she calls Liesl Salmensch, which is German for pig. So even though Liesl is here learning to deal with this new family, she still is wanting to learn to read, and Hans teaches her through the Gravedigger's Handbook. And they practice learning words. Liesl lives in the basement of their house, and she and Hans paint words on the walls so that she can learn how to spell and to say, and Liesel keeps a notebook of all the important words that she's learning. This causes problems, of course, for Liesel when she goes to school. She can't read, and it embarrasses her greatly. But she makes a staunch ally in a boy named Rudy Steiner, and Rudy and Liesel become fast friends. Rudy is known as the Jesse Owens of their city because he is super fast and super quick, just like the famous Olympic athlete. And Liesel and Rudy, again, get into all kinds of trouble. They steal apples from the orchards, and Rudy is always bugging for Liesel to give him a kiss. And she, of course, refuses constantly because, no, Rudy's a friend. Gross, right? And so things, of course, in Germany, as Liesel is learning to deal with her new family and her new city, are getting worse and worse. The Nazis are rising to power, and the Huberman and Liesel's life is changed drastically one day when they get a knock at their door, and it is a man named Max Vandenberg, who is Jewish. Max's father and Hans served together in World War I, and Max has come to their house looking for shelter, because during that time, of course, all the Jews were being rounded up and sent to concentration camps, which was, at that point, a sure death sentence. And so Max has been in hiding on the run, living in the woods, trying to make his way to the Huberman's house. And he comes, and he lives in the basement. They hide him down there. Liesel ends up living and sleeping in the living room. And Liesel and Max get to know each other, and they become friends. And as the air raids become more and more frequent, bombs being dropped on the city, it becomes more and more dangerous for the Hubermans to hide Max, because if they are found to be harboring a Jew, it would mean death for the entire family.